Gabrielle Zegers, and I am a senior in college right now, and I fence at Premier Fencing Academy, and I go to a Div 1 university on the East Coast. I've been fencing for roughly 12 years, approaching 13 years. It's been a very long time. I started fencing when I was 9. I think there's a lot that I enjoy about fencing. One of the aspects of fencing I love is the fact that it's very physically engaging. You get to hit people with swords. You get to learn how to wield a sword, which is always has a coolness factor around it. I think I also just have really liked the strategy and the mental aspect of it as well. I think that it's fun to try to combine physical techniques with also trying to strategize of how to get yourself out of certain situations, how to do different physical maneuvers, and how to accomplish a goal to get the point, and dealing with another person who's trying to do the same thing. I think it's kind of like a game. I don't know if there's a particular highlight or achievement in fencing that really makes me excited. I think maybe in fencing, starting to travel was one of my favorite experiences. Starting to fence in more national tournaments. I think that was really exciting because I got to see a lot of places and I got to meet a lot of people. Starting to develop relationships and friendships with people in the fencing community, I think, was something that was really special to me. And I think also having the opportunity to train and get better in fencing at Premier Fencing Academy was really special to me as well. Just build relationships here to try to get feedback on fencing, to really believe that it could go somewhere, I think was very special. And in terms of achievements, I think the most important achievements I've had, I've won a lot of medals, I've gone to a lot of tournaments, I've traveled to a lot of places. I was able to get recruited onto a college fencing team. I think the biggest achievements from fencing were the personal ones, the personal growth moments as well. And those came through not always getting what I wanted out of tournaments and not always achieving the goal I set out to when I came in, but really learning what I needed from there to grow, to have a longer term growth, to deal with adversity and such. I think when I first started fencing, I wanted to be in the Olympics. I just really wanted to be in the Olympics, and I think, hey, if I still had the opportunity to do so, at some point I would love to be in the Olympics again too. I think in terms of long term, I think to be able to fence in tournaments still, I'm graduating college soon. I don't know how much longer I will be fencing or will be able to fence, but I think to be able to have really fond memories of fencing in general, to be able to compete in tournaments where I can, and possibly to do veterans tournaments and veterans championships in the future, I think would be really amazing. It's a good question because I think one of the amazing aspects of fencing is being able to learn to fight hard to accomplish something and to go beyond your comfort zones, which I think is very valuable. And another one also is to be able to accept defeat and accept when you need to change something as well, to make adjustments. And I think those are both very valuable lessons that are held in tension. After each tournament, after each lesson, I just try to think about what can I learn from this, what really happened and what can I learn from this, and what can I take into the next day. Because fencing's difficult. I think it challenges you in a lot of different areas of life and also of your mental game, your physical game. And I think the most valuable thing you can do when you're challenged is to learn. is to seek out help from other people and also to reflect on, okay, how can I take this into future interactions? How can I do better at accomplishing the goals I've set out to do? And then what needs adjusting, and try to be humble and learning from that. I think I'm also motivated a lot by the people around me, just interacting with them even, and just also like really enjoying that even if I have had a bad day at fencing. I think I'm also really motivated by being able to recognize fencing as just something really fun, something really active in my life that I can do, something I've been able to do that has been just a really good experience, and be able to reflect on those moments and be thankful for them. I really like the ladder drills. I also really like the hurdles. And I like the soccer games at the beginning. I think they just get really crazy, and they get me fired up and get me warmed up for the subsequent fencing bouts. And I think they're great for conditioning. I think they're great for trying to become more coordinated, but also incorporate team play into it and kind of a competitive element. So I like those a lot. And outside of fencing, I do some weightlifting, which has been really helpful. And I also have been starting to run as well. And I'm slowly but surely getting better at it. But I think the ones we do, the soccer games and the ladder drills, are my favorite. I may have touched on it a little bit earlier, but how fencing has impacted my life. It's been challenging. It's been a challenging sport to be in. It's been a challenging sport to learn. It's presented through fencing. I've been presented with a lot of different challenging areas of being able to work with people, to bounce back from hard things. And I think through fencing, I've just kind of been able to learn how to learn. I think I've definitely been shown through it to be humble, to accept when I need to change things, whether it's a fencing move or whether it's the way I'm interacting with someone. And I think it's also shown me how to work as well, and also to reflect on what's an important lesson to take out of the experience I just had. I'm very thankful for the years I've had in fencing, and for future years in fencing, and also just I think I've learned how to be at peace with a lot of different situations, a lot of different challenging situations. Choosing a favorite place I visited is very challenging because I've gotten to go to a lot of really interesting places. For fencing tournaments, I think I've interestingly liked visiting Cleveland, mostly for the food. I really liked the food in Cleveland that we ate there. My mom and I, whenever we go to fencing tournaments, we'll spend a long time just looking through different food blogs and food websites. And I have to eat gluten-free, so a gluten-free around me app. And we'll just like try all these like crazy restaurants that we see, and it's really fun. I think I also really enjoyed going to Poland. It was the internationally based World Cup that I got to go to. I got to go to a World Cup in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was really fun. But I think I really enjoyed going to Poland as well because aside from being able to fence and having a really good experience fencing in that tournament, I got to go to a new place and kind of experience a new culture. And I don't think I would ever have really planned on going there unless I had been fencing. And then there are a lot of places I've enjoyed going, but in terms of being fencing related, those are the ones. In terms of Movies, I really like Star Wars, partially why I went into fencing. I also, I like reading a lot of nonfiction books, and those can be generally nonfiction. I also read some existential philosophers, and some of my favorite hobbies have included running, hanging out with people. I've also become very involved in church, and I enjoy writing as well, mostly essay writing and reflective and creative, like poetry writing as well. And I also like to do artwork. I've had type 1 diabetes for 16 years now, so I was diagnosed with it before starting fencing, and I think the challenge of being a young child and starting to grow and having a disease like type 1 diabetes, there's just so many unknowns. It's really hard to figure out how to help me feel okay and be able to learn fencing when it's already such a challenging sport and is physically demanding. And I think over time, I've been able to, through a lot of different mistakes I've made and adjustments for my insulin, for my blood sugars, through those mistakes, I think I've been able to really learn how to manage my diabetes in fencing, and it's never a perfect process, and I still have fluctuations in my blood sugar. I still get low. I still miscount the amount of insulin I need. I still have high and low blood sugars in fencing, but I think the most important part is that I've learned is not to let that determine whether or not I stick in fencing. And when I do have I do make a mistake, or I do have something that happens like that, to be able to relearn, to bounce back from it. And I think that it's definitely possible, even if you have something like type 1 diabetes, to be able to participate in this sport. It's definitely challenging, but I think it's very rewarding, and you will learn a lot through the process of managing it. And I'm very thankful to have been able to stick in fencing, even with something like type 1 diabetes. I'll start with Coach Fristow. I think that a good word for Coach Fristow, my sister mentioned honest. I also think caring. I think he really cares about our development in fencing, and he's very driven by that, and he also just wants to see us do the best we can, and I think he expresses that very well, and that is really apparent in all his lessons, in all his coaching advice, and I think he does a really good job of helping us develop in that. For Coach Chris, and this is going to be 2 words, I'd say, is grand strategist. I think that he really treats fencing a little bit like a puzzle, putting the pieces together and seeing how different moves can combine, and I think he's really brilliant at that, and has really opened my mind to a lot of different ways of fencing and a lot of different techniques that have helped me, and he's really good at seeing adjustments. And then for Coach Setzi, I think a good word for her is perceptive. I think she's able to see a lot of what's going on around her, either interactions between different fencers or on the fencing strip, and really show us how to adjust to it, to deal with it. I think all 3 coaches work very well together because of all their aspects, and each of them share a little bit of those words, but I think each of the words that I mentioned are the ones that are strongest, at least when I work with them, and it's been a really good experience so far. Well, in 5 years from now, I hopefully will have graduated from nursing school. I'm currently in nursing school trying to earn my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. So I'm really hoping to be able to work as a nurse. I'm not entirely sure where I'll live yet. I think there's a lot of options open, and I think I'm trying to keep my options open as much as possible. And maybe I'll be fencing or maybe not. And then I would love to have a family if possible. I don't know if it will be in 5 years, 10, 15, or 20, but that would be wonderful. And I think I also would like to do to travel and to also do missions work as well overseas. And I don't know to what capacity that will look like yet. There's a lot of neat opportunities. It's interesting this time of life transitioning out of college because it just seems there's a very vast unknown. And I guess maybe that's one of the takeaways I've learned so far through fencing and around fencing is to be able to be at peace when there are so many unknowns.